Hello, everyone. Welcome to Concordia University's Forest Space. Thank you for joining us for this afternoon's event, From Passion to Profession, Careers in Cybersecurity and Digital Ethics. And just to help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube live from Forest Space. And we are located here on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at Forest Space, we work with our university community to help mobilize knowledge with daily questions, projects, things happening across the university. We're also running today's event as a live stream Zoom meeting. So those of you joining us there, your comments and questions are important. Just pop those into the chat and we'll read them out later on. And those of you here in the space, if you have any comments or questions, just raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone around to you. Okay, it's now my pleasure to hand things over to PhD candidate in electrical computer engineering and former public scholar here at Concordia University, one of our frequent collaborators. It's great to have you back, Azfar Adib.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Thank you so much, Douglas and the Forest Space team. It's really good to be back here and with a wonderful pool of panelists. So my name is Azfar, so I should skip my own.
You can.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so I will go to introduce our panelists, and all of them have wonderful profiles. So I feel it a very hard job for me to be the moderator today. So they will all talk about their background and their journey. I will just share a summary with you all. So we are very delighted to have Dr. Windhya Rankothge with us. She is joining from Fredericton, New Brunswick. Dr. Windhya, in fact, she prefers the name Windy, so with her kind permission, I will use the name Windy. Dr. Windy is a Postdoctoral Research Associate at CIC, which is the Canadian Institute of Cybersecurity. So those of us who are familiar with this field, CIC is the leading Canadian government institution who are doing the cybersecurity research for the Canadians. So Dr. Windy, she leads the research collaboration between different industry and government entities. She received her PhD in Information and Communication Tech back in 2017 from University of Pompeu Fabra, Barcelona. And she is pretty active with IEEE, which is the world's largest tech professional organization. Importantly, she is a big contributor to IEEE Women in Engineering, and she is doing wonderful work there. So Dr. Windy, thank you so much for joining us from Fredericton. Okay, so our second panelist, we are very happy to have her right here, Liana Della Vecchia, a Concordia graduate, so welcome back. So Liana is a bilingual educator and a program designer, 6+ years of experience in education and youth engagement. Right now, she is working for Digital Moment. She is the instruction specialist and coordinator for their Social Innovation Lab. And she supports teens, the teenagers, in identifying tech solutions to social issues impacting their communities. So that's a very, very interesting topic, and we hope to hear more from you. So as I told, Liana is a Concordia graduate in a Bachelor of Arts in Communications and Cultural Studies. Also, she has a Master's of Arts in International Education from Universidad de Alcalá. Sorry for my pronunciation, Universidad de Alcalá. You can correct myself, in Madrid. Also, she has worked in international teaching, EdTech, digital literacy, a long list. So looking forward to hear more from you. Thank you, Liana, for being here. Then we have Clara Olivia Leves. Thank you, Clara, for joining us here. Another Concordia graduate. And she's a recent one from psychology program. Clara has been very active in the campus. I guess many of us have seen her here doing different things for people and for the community. Right now, she's serving on the board of Women Ever since summer 2022. This is a survivor-run organization based in Montreal, and it supports people experiencing intimate partner violence. So it's a pretty sensitive topic. And what really amazes me that this is a survivor-run organization. So I think that can relate a lot with the survivors and their well-being. And Clara also is doing a lot of things, a transdisciplinary artist. Her work is deeply rooted in eco-feminist perspective. And she is, of course, involved in community projects, collaborated with Concordia students, Centre de Femmes Solidaires are engaged to produce murals celebrating justice and equality. So that's amazing, and looking forward to hear more from you, Clara. Thank you. And finally, we have Mohammad Habibur Rahman. Again, another Concordia graduate. So as you see, we have mostly Concordia graduates today, which should be inspiring for the local community. So Mohammad Habibur Rahman is a seasoned cybersecurity architect and cloud security expert. So if anyone is from non-tech background, these words may sound heavy. So just to make it easy for you, cloud is everywhere. Like whatever we do nowadays, Google, Amazon, Facebook, everything is over cloud. So Habibur is a cloud expert. So he's a very high-tech expert, I should say. And his list of work is pretty long. Master of Engineering in Information Systems Security from Concordia. a lot of professional certification, Azure, Oracle, Amazon, all the big names. So he's like the, the big tech guy. So if you have any questions, you can send him over to him. But the beautiful thing is, beyond his technical work, Habibur is very passionate about community activities. For example, recently he completed the Ottawa Marathon. So he's joining us here from Ottawa. And he is very committed to discipline and achieving goals. He has been leading exercise and workshops with young people, cybersecurity trainings, automation, digital threads, and so on. So thank you so much, Habibur, for joining us from Ottawa. Okay, so those were our panelists. And again, as I said, maybe I share just an overview. They have a lot more to tell. So we are starting with Dr. Windy. And the first question is, again, a bit about your background and most importantly, your journey. You had a wonderful career in academia and now in working for research jobs. So can you share how you got motivated to pursue this path? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting me to the panel discussion. I'm sure it's going to be really interesting. And so I'm Windhya Rankothge, also known as Windy. And as I was introduced, I'm a Postdoctoral Research Associate at CIC, Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity. And right now, I'm leading a research project with a space and defense company called ADGA Groups. You might have heard about ADGA. And I did my PhD in Information and Communication Technologies from University of Pompeu Fabra, Barcelona. Great city, by the way, highly recommended. And I got into cybersecurity because I realized how much it touches everything we do. It's not just about coding or stopping hackers. It's about making sure the systems are safe, people follow the rules, and also all the risks, physical risk, digital risk, are handled smartly. And as we all know, it is important to build systems that protect people even when they slip up. My expertise is on GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. And when it comes to GRC, it's like the behind the scene work which keeps everything running smoothly. It plays a very critical role in ensuring that cybersecurity is not just about the technical defenses, but also about building resilient systems, ethical frameworks, and helping for informed decision-making process. So I focus on how we can make cybersecurity more about people and processes by coming up with different frameworks, governance and compliance standards and rules and so on. And it is not just tech. It can be my telephone, it can be my colleagues, it can be my future job. The cybersecurity GRC is part of all of it. And GRC will make sure whatever we are doing, the technical things, non-technical things, security implementations, securing strategies, everything is done right. So I moved to cybersecurity because it helped each and every one of us in our day-to-day lives, making sure that we are in a secure digital space, especially the GRC. So it's my pleasure to discuss with you all in further details how I work in cybersecurity in this field, what I do, and so on. I hope I answered your question, and thank you very much for this opportunity again.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Windy. Yeah, it was really nicely explained. I think we all know cybersecurity is so crucial nowadays, and it's great to know the work you're doing with all your expertise, having a PhD and now working in CIC. So on the same note, we will now hear from Liana, because Liana is also contributing here more with the community. So can you share your journey and what inspired you to pursue this path?
So hi, thank you for inviting me to attend this panel today as well. My background's a bit very non-traditional, I'd say. I actually started out in community leadership. So I completed a DAC at Dawson College in community recreation and leadership training before completing my degree at Concordia in communications and cultural studies. Once I graduated, I moved abroad to Madrid, where I was teaching ESL in different classrooms and working remotely as well. So there I actually finished my master's in international education. and then decided to move back to Montreal, where I knew I wanted to stay in education. So I started working with Digital Moment. And that's where I really dove more into tech. So working with Digital Moment, I was learning how to code, block coding. I was exploring a little bit about robotics and AI, and I was facilitating workshops for students and teachers. So after I got a bit more involved in the digital tech education, then I had the amazing opportunity to co-create the Social Innovation Lab, which is a program designed to help teens sort of identify issues that their communities are facing, and then propose or ideate technological solutions to solve those issues. So, when I was a Concordia student, I wasn't actually thinking like, oh, this is where I'm going to end up, but I just sort of followed work that felt meaningful to me, and it sort of led me to this path in digital ethics and education.
Lovely, thank you, Liana. And just loving the part, as you said, it happened organically, and you followed the path. So that's beautiful. Thank you. So Clara, the same question for you. You have been pretty active on the campus, and I think you can add more on that. Carry on.
Yeah, I like to get involved in a lot of things, as I think you're very aware of, and maybe some people might be in this room or on Zoom. So I'm, again, as Azfar said, a transdisciplinary artist, which means that I do both visual art, but I also use the arts as a media for possible solution building. I'm very passionate about working with survivors of intimate partner violence because I myself am a survivor of intimate partner violence, and that's what Women Aware does, as Azfar detailed. We provide a hotline service that survivors can contact us through. We have a one-on-one peer support program where we have people that have similar lived experiences being paired with each other, and then we also have group support services. I find that it's super important to have discussion spaces such as this, where we have tangible discussions and solution building together, especially on such a sensitive topic. It's not talked about enough. And it's still a widespread issue, not just in Canada, but globally. And as Dr. Windy said, technology is based in everything. And it's just another tool that sometimes abusers can use to control and maintain systems of abuse with survivors of intimate partner violence. So yeah, and as you know, I use my arts as a platform for advocacy as well. So I'm very passionate about not just prevention, but also pathways for hope.
Yeah, thank you, Clara. Like arts, activism, psychology, and your own passion. I think that's an amazing combination. Thank you. Okay, now the question for Habibur, like you have a very defined and very colorful career, working in the corporate, studying at Concordia, and being like one of the prominent experts in cyber safety. So you want to share your journey, how you pursue this path?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thanks a lot for giving me a chance to speak at my university. So yeah, I have a bachelor's in computer science and a master's in information security, you mentioned before. Recently, I joined a new organization. It's a startup called Wonder. It's a Boston-based organization. So I'm working as their senior security engineer. Before I worked at IBM, and yeah, throughout my career, I worked at multiple organizations. And the reason for me to get into cybersecurity is basically in 2010, there was a very sophisticated attacks happened in one of the country, and it's called Stuxnet. And from then I was studying about what happened actually. And, from then I grew a lot of interest in me, like how sophisticated a cybersecurity attack can be, and that can infiltrate a whole country, right? Then I got into corporate life. I started learning more about cybersecurity, infrastructure security. Then, everything moved to cloud. Then I started learning more about cloud, and it was more interesting to me. And since then, I've been working in that domain, and I'm advocating their, cybersecurity awareness, because often people left out the cybersecurity because they think it's very technical stuff. It's not something we should learn or we should listen to, but it's more general, and we can implement in our day-to-day life, right? So yeah, and I think it's pretty interesting to talk about cybersecurity in general. Discuss some of the stories, what I have seen, and what is going on in the world. Uh, you know, so yeah, that's all drawn me to this particular domain.
Thank you, Habibur. So it's so nice to know that you faced the problem, you saw how the world was suffering, and then you joined this community. Since I have some engineering background, we always say that problems should come from our lives. So rather than inventing a problem, we can try to solve what we already face. So your journey is a lovely example of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So now the second question, and maybe we'll start with Habibur in the reverse order. So you already touched it a bit, like how you step into this path, and over the years you have worked in the industry, you were in academia. So nowadays cybersecurity is such a vast thing, and almost every day we are seeing something happening somewhere in the world. Here in Canada, we had a lot of big incidents recently. So when we talk about taking practical steps, I know it's a very broad question, but how do you suggest, like maybe to Concordia as a university, or to maybe to any of us, like Clara has her organization, Liana works for an organization, and same for Dr. Windy. So if we ask you like what we should do to protect our organization, what will be the suggestions?
Yeah, sure. I will try to be less technical in this for to answer these questions. But yeah, first of all, I would like to say sorry if I go into technical stuff. Yeah, I want to try to keep more interactive. So, first of all, if any organization, so if you want to secure it, let's say, for example, Concordia. First of all, I would start with security awareness program, so that everyone knows what their part to secure your organizations, right? For example, there is a very common thing I think most of us received in our email from some Nigerian prince asking for money, right? So this is some of the very common attacks that's going on all over, like around us. That's, I would say, this kind of awareness we can do to raise awareness throughout the organizations, right? For example, what is phishing email, what you should do, what you should not do. And I know that a lot of us faced a call from CRA, right, that you owe money, right? So this is also as kind of hackers trying to get your informations, getting your banking information. So I think it's really important, so that we make some awareness. There are a lot of videos online, so we should circulate this kind of informations throughout the organizations, so that people, they can do their part, right? And yeah, there's a lot of, first of all, I mentioned that security awareness is one of the thing. Then if the Concordia is going into clouds, there is a cloud security. I think Dr. Windhya, she mentioned about governance and compliance, which is a really important part. So sometimes when I start, what should I do to secure my organizations? There are a lot of things I have to cover, right? Let's go focus on those compliance part that is already industry established. Framework is online. For example, NIST CSF, there's some compliance related certifications that helps to show other people that, yeah, this company is secured. Like, for example, if you're service based, there's a SOC 2. If you're ITIL, ISO 27001. So I can speak a lot, but yeah, there's a few things you can do. For example, don't plug into your anything USB drive in your laptop right away. um, I think beginning of this call, I mentioned about Stuxnet. This actual attack started by inserting a pen drive that found in a parking lot into a laptop, right? And boom, like everything went down, right? So yeah, and there's another thing I would say. I'm just speaking more general. Everyone should follow this. When it comes for Concordia or your personal life, try to do multi-factor authentications for your Google account, for your banking account, which is very important. Sometimes we don't want to do it to give extra effort on our day-to-day life, but it's really important to enable multi-factor authentications for all of your devices, all of your infrastructure, and all. And try to keep your personal information secret. don't put everything on your social media. There is a term called social engineering, where a hacker, what it does, he goes into your social media profile and gets all the information. So, try to keep some information private, not put everything like on public and social media, I would say. Then try to use antivirus. I know like we are sometimes skeptical, it does nothing, but sometimes it helps for organization like Concordia to detect threats before it start doing any attack to your organizations. And run scan on your environment every now and then, to secure environment. One of the key factor about recently that posted on the top 10 attack vectors is that infrastructure design. So we are securing everything on our infrastructure, but we make a rat hole in our infrastructure because there's insecure design or some solution architect designed it, he missed that part, and hacker can infiltrate that rat hole and do a lateral movement and gain all the access to your environment. There is a very good case study what Uber happened. One of the developer somehow leak his password or something like this, and teenager, he got access to all the Uber environment and posted on public. So yeah, securing your password is very important. So you can use 1Password, LastPassword. There's a lot of tools. So try to use that. It might help your day-to-day life. So in summary, don't click anything you see on your email, especially from a Nigerian prince. Don't give away your credit card information over the phone call, the number which says that spam. So try to avoid that. Try to use multi-factor authentications on your day-to-day life. And yeah, try to see some videos that might raise your security awareness. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Thanks, Habibur. Those are very useful and I think easy to follow tips. So as you heard from Habibur, these are not a big deal. We just need to be cautious, and of course, new threats will come up, but we just need to be vigilant. So yeah, thanks. Now, going back to Clara, so you work with the cyberverse, and this is such a sensitive thing, intimate partner violence, and I assume you do work with the cyberverse who have been victimized online. So you want to share an experience on that?
Yeah, so what we call technology-based violence is quite common in a variety of forms with survivors of intimate partner violence. It could take the form of an abuser trying to contact them through harassment, which is what we typically hear about, but there's also cyberbullying on social media. There's trying to contact survivors through e-transfers, which we wouldn't think is a thing, but it really is. And as recent as 2024, 2025, there have been cases of this. So what is technology-based, technology-facilitated gender-based violence? According to techsafety.ca, it is technology-facilitated gender-based violence, or TFGBV, happens when someone uses technology to harm or to control you. One of the leading experts that does research on this is Rhiannon Wang, if ever you want to, Rhiannon Wang, if ever you want to check out the work that she's done. And as I said, it could be forms of harassment, so putting too much information, but then also isolating the survivors, so trying to restrict their information, sending out false information about their reputation to people in their community, which makes this very isolating after that for survivors, because then how are they supposed to feel safe reaching out for information? How are they supposed to feel safe reaching out for support? So, at Women Aware, that's part of the thing with being a community, is that when they call our line, if they need help with regaining control, we can give them safety tips. We can refer them to resources. We can give them some of the tips like what Habibu was saying about two-factor authentication, double checking that there's no spyware on their computers and things like that, because this can be definitely something that can happen. And although we might not think about it, but AI as well, this is a very relevant tool in both harm and prevention in the domain of gender-based violence. So there was an interesting study done by Shermer et al. Called The Language of Trauma, Modeling Traumatic Events Descriptions Across Domains and Explained AI. And this was interesting because they were looking at large learning models and training them specifically to parse through different either forums, databases and whatnot on trauma-based language that was mainly psychological and physical in nature. And so when we train certain models, they can be used in a preventative nature by professionals to also help survivors of intimate partner violence. However, there's obviously still a lot of issues revolving around AI. We're not going to go into the sustainability aspect of it, but privacy standards, also just whether it's really able to accurately parse the complexity of this issue, because there are so many ways that abuse manifests in survivors' lives. So, and if I may also add one more little tidbit, actually another Concordia graduate, Christopher Dietzel, does a lot of research on sexually based violence facilitated by technology here at Concordia, and I wanted to just point out some pretty stark numbers in terms of statistics that a report that they publish. So if just trigger warning, these can be pretty intense. This is a sensitive issue, but 39% of young women aged 15 to 25 report being sexually threatened online, and 37% of them report being sexually harassed. So this was in 2020. In undergraduate environments, 4 out of 5 report at least one type of technology-facilitated sexual violence. 4 out of 10 of those report being male students, and 7 out of 10 of those report being female students. And according to Women's Shelters Canada, in 2024, they released a survey and a report shedding insights on technology-facilitated violence, and 95% of anti-violence workers, so anybody doing intervention work related to cybersecurity, identified that supporters were disclosing some form of technology-facilitated gender-based violence. 95%, that's a lot. And 76% of survivor respondents indicated that technology-facilitated gender-based violence impacted their connection and needs for support. So as you can see, it's important that we become, as intervention workers, connected to community members that work in these fields, and that we have the education to better support survivors as well on how to prevent and how to take action to take their life back, but also to influence policymakers and institutions to put better practices in play to prevent these things from happening, as they could be not just life-saving, but preventative in nature.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Clara. Well, these stats are really overwhelming. Like, it's hard to imagine, like, when you say 95%, so that's a huge number. But the positive side is like your organization and other entities, they're coming up, and maybe we need more of this, like more of this kind of support. So I assume that's why we are here today, and we have the audience joining us here, because we really need to know where to go, where to seek support. So whether it's tech support, like as Habibur mentioned, or like the community support as you're mentioning. So it's very important to know that there is support available. So yeah. Thank you. So now going back to Liana, like you work with the youth, I think pretty exciting. I had the chance to have bit collaboration with you before. So mostly Gen Z or Gen Alpha. And when we talk about technology, they are smarter than us. So how do you actually deal those challenges? Like they have their own ways of thinking. So everyone agrees about digital safety, ethics, but there might be misconception as well. So any experiences?
So I've actually already noticed a digital divide between the youth that I teach. So some of them thankfully have had exposure, and they know a little bit about internet safety, and they know a bit about algorithms. They're thinking a little bit about like doom scrolling or terms like brain rot. But for the majority of them, there actually isn't a lot of education, or there's a lot of, maybe not misinformation, but there's a lot left to learn. And so for a lot of them that don't really know much about social media or what they're kind of experiencing with their technology, they're really deeply attached to their technology. And so when adults come in with these warnings to sort of talk about it, there's a lot of, they'll kind of feel that adults are maybe like out of touch, or that it's, they're being too critical. So right away, that's already sort of like a barrier or like an obstacle to come in because you're sort of battling this attitude. So it's really important that we're not just sharing information, but that we're building trust and sort of relevance so that the students or youth can kind of understand where we're coming from and sort of have a better attitude towards learning about that. So with that being said, for a lot of the youth that don't know much about anything digital or like tech in general, I'd say the two biggest misconceptions that I see is kind of related to bias in technology. So there's a belief that because tech is sort of like neutral or available or accessible, that it's therefore fair, when in reality, a lot of tech is shaped by human decisions and existing inequalities. And then besides that, a lot of students really don't understand data. So they don't understand the type of data that they're sharing. So when they're online and when they're on social media, they don't understand the different ways essentially that their data is being used. The fact that their data is sort of shaping their online experience and how that affects not only them, but the people around them. And also how their data might be being sold to third parties and what that even means, right? So maybe they're aware of it, but they don't really understand what exactly that means or how that impacts them. So in the Social Innovation Lab, we try to center these topics so that we're trying to find engaging sort of activities that help them have these conversations. So it's not only in isolated lessons, but as a thread throughout the program so that we're always kind of coming back to sort of informing them and helping them have these informed conversations about these topics and helping them see the relevance of how it actually impacts them and their community around them.
Okay, thank you, Liana. So that's lovely to hear. And so as Clara mentioned, there's need for support for survivors, and you're talking about the youth. So I guess if the youth are conscious from their early adulthood, then that will make their lives easier. So thank you. And also you touched some good points like about the data safety security. And I think that's what we have the question for Dr. Windy. So as we often say, like technology comes first and regulations come afterwards. So we are often seeing that the regulations, laws, policies are pretty lagging to counter these growing threats, which is obvious because it does take some time for the government or for the experts to build those frameworks. So would you like to share your experiences, like when we talk about cybersecurity framework, regulation, governance for organization or for the country in the Canadian context? So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm pretty sure you might have heard the term GRC, my research area. And what is GRC? It stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance. In simple terms, it's about making sure organizations, even individuals, has the right rules in place, which is the governance, and also understand what could go wrong, basically any risk, and finally follows laws and standards which all of us should be compliant into the compliance. And you can think of it as rules plus awareness plus responsibility combination. And it will help you to keep things secure and also running smoothly. As most of the people thinks that cybersecurity is not about like just using strong passwords or installing antivirus software. It's also about following these standards and rules that help us, systems and organizations to keep their data safe. For example, there are like a lot of standards, frameworks available. ISO 27001, which is a global checklist used by many organizations, how to manage their information and protect their information. And also we have NIST cybersecurity framework. From my experience, most of the organizations follow the NIST cybersecurity framework, and it gives step-by-step guidelines on how we can identify and respond to cyber threats. And we also have different controls like CIS controls, which are like top 20 list best practices for staying secure. And compliance side, there are legal requirements that organizations must follow. For an example, GDPR, for instance, it's a European law which protects people, personal data and privacy. And HIPAA, health-related information, which protects US-based health-related information. And if your organization, company handles credit card payments, you might need to follow PCI regulations to keep your data safe. So these rules, regulations help organizations and individuals to keep their information, digital environment safe. And it's a big part of responsible cybersecurity space. Now, as you mentioned, organizations are required to implement these regulations, compliance requirements and all, but they face a lot of challenges. The biggest challenge I have seen an organization face is keeping up with how fast cyber threats are evolving. Today we hear about one type of cyber threat, and tomorrow we will hear another type of cyber threats. We have these zero-day attack concepts where we have zero knowledge of the attack or the threat. And attackers are getting smarter, and new vulnerabilities, new weaknesses pop up all the time because we have emerging technologies coming up every day. These technologies are not perfect. There are weaknesses, there are vulnerabilities in these technologies. For an example, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, cloud computing. These are disruptive technologies. Of course, they are useful, but they bring a lot of weaknesses into the systems. They are new, so we need time to find out these new weaknesses. And attackers use these weaknesses, vulnerabilities, and they find new tricks to attack the systems. So companies or organizations have to constantly update their systems, update their security systems, security strategies, and adapt to these new threats. So it's not just about having firewalls or antivirus software anymore. It's about building a full system which can adapt and respond quickly even to zero-day attacks or zero-day threats. You can think of it as a playing a new game where rules change every week. That's one of the biggest challenge, evolving threats. And another challenge that I have seen is related to people or related to the employees of the organizations and how to make this security is easy for people to follow. We can have very complex security implementation, security measures, but they might not be very easy to follow by the employees, individuals, users. So how to balance security with the usability is one of the biggest questions we have. If the rules are too strict or confusing, people might just ignore them or try to find shortcuts. For an example, like if we say password should have 8 characters, including numeric values, people might have just password 123. Please don't do it. But they try to find shortcuts. And also people might find ways to bypass them. Some people try to write passwords on sticky notes or use the same password everywhere. You all have been there, by the way, but don't do it. So organizations need to design systems that are secure, of course, but at the same time user-friendly. So finding this balance is very difficult because of new technologies coming up and new strategies that we have to implement. And to make sure that we are coping up with all these problems, the biggest challenge is to make sure that top management of the organizations understand the importance of cybersecurity. Top management to interns, everyone in the organization or everyone as individuals need to understand the role of the cybersecurity in their job role. It's just not an IT problem. It can become a business issue, a legal issue, and even a human behavior issue. So each of us have a responsibility of understanding the importance of cybersecurity and helping the organization to make sure cybersecurity rules, regulations, approaches are implemented carefully. And the final challenge I can think of is the regulations are getting stricter, which is a good thing, of course, but it also means organizations need to constantly update their policies and regulations and also prove that they are doing the right things. There can be several assessment steps and several certifications that the organizations require to adhere, and which takes time and resources. Of course, a lot of coordinations between different departments, not only IT department, not only security professionals, but it involves everyone in the company. So in short, cybersecurity is important, tech is important, but the real challenge I see is aligning people, processes, and all the policies to build a culture of security. Security should be a part of the organizational culture. And while the cybersecurity tools are very important, techniques, tools are very important, GRC is important, but what ties together is the people, policies, and individuals in the organization. People help organizations not only just to react to the threats, but also to plan ahead and build a culture of security.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Windhya. Those were a lovely pool of suggestions. And as you rightly said, like the culture is pretty important, how people perceive cybersecurity from the top to the bottom. And that really makes a difference. And that also brings us to our third question. So this time we're starting with Liana. So like as Dr. Windhya said, building that culture from top to bottom, everyone being responsible about cybersecurity. And that's where actually you're playing a big role, educating the young people. And in the audience today, we do have a lot of people from our local community. We have students, many of the current and future educators. So how they can empower young people being educators or as community leaders, any suggestions for them?
Yeah, I believe everything starts with a safe learning environment. So obviously youth of today, they grew up in a digital era. They're used to constantly having instant access at their fingertips. So the classroom already can feel very intimidating when they're expected to perform without necessarily that same level of access. And I've seen a lot of students obviously kind of like go to AI or kind of quickly use AI, and a lot of people think, oh, cheating and stuff, and it's genuinely not out of desire to cheat, but they're so anxious and overwhelmed and stressed about getting something wrong in the classroom that there's a lot of fear around it. So I think that if we can do a good job of building safe spaces where students feel comfortable making mistakes, that's the first step, because obviously that's exactly where learning happens. So that's a crucial piece of it, is to feel safe making mistakes, to learn new things, and to, you know, just kind of grow that way. And at this point, I think we're sort of beyond, like, it's the genie's out of out of the lamp at this point. So I feel like, you know, we can't really keep AI or technology out of their hands. It's crazy how young kids can be in like already accessing this, you know, this type of technology and stuff. So I think the more realistic and empowering thing is actually how to teach them how to use it critically and safely and responsibly. So that obviously involves having programs teaching them, you know, to understand more about data, technology, internet safety, et cetera, so that they can sort of develop this like media literacy. And so then they're not only learning how to use it, but they're learning how to think about it, which I think is even more important, especially for teens kind of growing up in this. And we can't predict future advancements, so we can't always prepare them for what's to come, but we can give them the tools that they would need in order to assess, to think critically, and to then respond thoughtfully to anything that comes their way, which I think will always be evolving, is always, you know, a good adaptability skill. And one of my favorite success stories from the Social Innovation Lab is actually, I gave the students, so the students finished an assignment, and then I gave them AI content of the exact same assignment. So they finished the assignment, I provided them with samples of AI content, and I asked them to critique it. And they thought the AI content was perfect, it looked polished, they were already like, oh, it's so much better than what I did. And I was like, no, there's some mistakes, like I'm inviting you to find them. So it took a bit of, you know, encouraging them, but the students eventually noticed some flaws, started critiquing it, and were able to find like some issues in the content. But what's even more inspiring is that the second time I did the same thing, so they did their own work, and then I showed them AI content, they were much quicker at noticing flaws, at critiquing it, but this time they were like there was a visibly increased confidence. And that's exactly it. So when we're teaching students or they're developing this critical lens, this is exactly the sort of behavior that we need to be seeing and fostering in the classroom or outside the classroom as well.
Wow, thanks, Liana. That was an excellent example, and it's pretty amazing to know, like when you give them the AI done things second time, and they first thought, oh, this is perfect, but actually not. So still we are better than AI. Good to know that. Okay, thank you. And so the next question is for Habibur, and we will carry on the same tune which Liana said. Like, yeah, we need to learn. It's not only about using AI or being online. It's about how we can be safe in online. And we know you spend a lot of time in mentoring, along being your professional work. You're also talking with the young people. And here at Concordia, we do have a cybersecurity program where we have a lot of students studying. I think some of them are here today. So would you like to share some suggestions, like how to increase that expertise and confidence? Obviously, academic degree helps, or having trainings which Liana is running, which Clara is doing on, or maybe something Dr. Windy is providing from her end, those kind of certification programs. Along with that, how do you actually empower young people and motivate them to be being responsible digital citizens? He's muted.
I'm sorry, I was in mute. So first of all, the degree you're getting from Concordia University, that's a really great program we have in Concordia University. That will help you to, lay the ground, make the base stronger. Then when you comes to the real life, when you see real life examples, then the next game comes to, comes to play, right? So I will start. First of all, keep your mind curious and resilience. Like for example, you can go online, search what is going on. You can search more on the cybersecurity related stuff. That will help you to gain more knowledge about any attacks or anything, right? So this is one thing, you have to be more curious, right? If you have any, let's say if you're working in a job or any working in organizations, there's something wrong, don't just let it go. Or if there is any vulnerability you find out, don't just let it go, right? Be more curious, why is there, what could happen if it's there, right? So be more curious. This mindset helps a lot on not only in the cybersecurity, I think it helps in your real life as well. For the students who are pursuing their degree right now, for them I would say try to make sure your core concepts are really really clear. That helps a lot. That explains a lot when you see stuff in real time. For example, the networking fundamentals, that is like a very beginning, you have to be very clear about the network fundamentals, right? So then some of the operating system related stuff, like for example Windows or Linux, whichever you are working, so try to get there some of the fundamentals concept. Then some of the common key threat vectors I already mentioned earlier, like the phishing attacks, malware, what is malware, what is spyware, what is like a ransomware, those kind of stuff. Try to get understand of those things. DDoS attack is a very common thing we saw a lot in the industry, that like some people, they're just spamming our environments with a bot or something like this. And one of the thing sometimes we missed out, I think a lot of organizations like Desjardins, there's like a big bank, they got a data breach few years back. There's a concept called insider threat. So insider threat is a very risky thing to find out for your organization. So those kind of stuff, try to learn when you are going into the real life in the organizations, right? Sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes they are doing like, let's say someone got fired, right? Now he's like, okay, I don't care, I'm gonna like remove all the data out of the database. So be more curious and be more resilient, and try to understand these kind of threats before you go into the real life. Then I would say another thing that helped me a lot. Uh, right now, I think everyone has a very powerful laptop. Try to build own sandbox lab in your laptop. Create virtual machines, or if you are working in the Kubernetes, create those environment on your laptop. Try to. There's a lot of open source software available, open source tools available. So you can just download them and install on your laptop, and you can create your own virtual lab, and you can do like a malware testing, reverse engineering, those kind of stuff. That helps a lot. It will help your academic exams also it will help you on real life when you have a very clear concepts on those specific terms, right? It's really tough to get a job when you just passed your master's or undergrad, right? So it's better if you get some like a lab set up on your environment. So when you're talking to an interviewer, like you have those concepts clear, so you can speak those to the interviewer, right? And one of the important thing is track the emerging threats. One of the speaker mentioned about the zero day threat or 0 day attack. So this kind of concept is no one has any knowledge about it. So it just pops up online suddenly, and like everyone is running. Okay, my environment is secure or not? For example, there is a Apache vulnerability came, and we had to update all of our environment immediately. Like so, this kind of thread we have to keep updating ourselves. Also, we have to keep eyes on online, what's going on in the internet, right? So technology helps a lot nowadays. Then one of the threat we recently right now I am working on is AI. So I'm trying to see what we are putting on AI. Is there any confidential information going? Like, I'm just trying to work on those. So it's something you should, I would say, really learn about. Try at least get some clear concept about those stuff. That will help you a lot. Then I think you all know about the quantum computer, right? There's a few of them, although it's not ready right now. There, I think 1 bit or 2 bit. Like correct me if I'm wrong. There's a few bit. It's not fully functional, I think. But there is a cryptographical threat that is coming for this quantum computing, and there is a post-quantum cryptography is also coming. So let's say the quantum computer, if it comes into play to like let's say to general people, then all the modern cryptography we use will be like breakable in within seconds, right? So post-quantum cryptography, I think there's something you can keep your eyes on, right? And some of the certification that helps in the industry, for example, CompTIA Security Plus. You can get any Google or Amazon or Azure cloud related certifications before you going into any professional certifications. And one of the thing I did is that join the cybersecurity community. It's on LinkedIn. There's a lot of cybersecurity community. You can just join them. You will learn a lot of stuff from there. There is a CTF, it's called a bug bounty program, so capture the flag. So you can try to do that if you have interest on those area, right? So yeah, I would say there's a few things you can look into before you join to the real fight after you graduate, right? And yeah, make up and make a personal growth, right? Don't try to do everything all at once. First of all, cybersecurity is a big field. Try to find out each pieces which you have interest on, right? Work on it. Try to get mastered on it, right? Don't try to do everything all at once. Use make up maybe a personal growth plan. Use GitHub. Like okay, maybe today I will work on creating my virtual lab on my computer, right? So make a small plan. Try to keep a track. Okay, I'm done with this. Then I'm gonna learn. Okay, what is cryptography? We have a very good professor called Jeremy Clark. He's really good in cryptography. Maybe you can just bug him about your questions on the cryptography related stuff. And yeah, don't afraid to fail. If you are failing, it's very common. If you get failed, that's fine. You don't have to be. It's not like about making perfect everything. It's about the experience you achieve throughout the process, right? So it's really really important that if you fail, come up and start again, right? And cybersecurity needs some of the open thinkers. So try to think out of the box for any specific issue. uh, start with the Start by the book. Then when you know that okay, I'm not able to solve this problem, just try to think out of the box. And yeah, again, I will end my talk. Just start with what interests you most. Don't go what everyone is doing. Just start what you are find interest in. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Habibur. So those were great suggestions and very good advices for our young people. And we really love the way you talk about like following what you like and being open-minded. And when we talk about being open-minded and being curious, so collaboration and community really helps. So that brings us to the next question for Dr. Windy. So we know you are very active with the IEEE, which is the world's largest tech organization. Especially you contribute a lot for the IEEE Women in Engineering. So you have been running a lot of global collaboration, cross-border stuff. So any suggestion like how being open-minded and volunteering for organizations like IEEE or other associations and going beyond our comfort zone, which Habibu touched a bit, like thinking out of the box, that can really help us in terms of cybersecurity?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, currently I serve a few different roles with IEEE and also Women in Engineering. So you might have heard of IEEE, Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers, which started for electronic and electrical engineers, but at the moment it has members from different engineering fields, you name it, biomedical engineering, computer engineering, and all sort of engineering. So if you are interested, please go and look into the IEEE. It's a real nice community. And the main objective or the vision of IEEE is to bring engineers, researchers, students from all over the world to collaborate and share knowledge, develop global standards to shape the future technology, basically. It's for advancing technology for humanity. Not only tech stuff, but also how technology can help us as humans to advance and to have a better future or to have a better community. And in IEEE, we have a special community called Women in Engineering, which focuses on supporting and empowering women in STEM fields. So I'm a voting member for IEEE MGA Awards and Recognition Committee, and also a voting member for IEEE Women in Engineering Global Committee. And I'm chairing this year's Women in Engineering Day, coordinating and collaborating with around 180 OUs all over the world. So I have seen how these collaborations and global level events, global level projects can help us, especially in the cybersecurity space, to shape the future of digital space and to have a responsible cyberspace that all of us can work with a peace in our mind. Now, the global collaboration is absolutely a key to building a more digitally responsible future. Cybersecurity, privacy, digital ethics, they are just not local issues. They cross borders. Each and every one of us. We reside in different countries, but we have similar kind of problems. The complexity or the importance, the criticality might be different, but we face same kind of issues. They are global issues. A vulnerability in one country, one system might affect systems globally. A data breach in one country might impact users worldwide. In our day-to-day lives, we use different supply chains which supply our day-to-day necessities, needs like food, water, clothes, healthcare, and so on. These supply chains are globally distributed. We eat food or we drink things that comes from different countries. We wear clothes which were manufactured in different countries. So we are globally connected. And all these supply chains are digitized now. And cybersecurity affects these supply chains a lot. So we need to work together across borders, cultures, and disciplines so that we can create solutions which are fair, inclusive, and also effective. We need shared standards. So I'm from GRC background, so I understand that these standards, GRC compliance requirements should be shared. And we need to have open communication and also diverse perspective to tackle these challenges together. During this panel discussion, there were several mention about different attacks. So one attack that comes into my mind is the SolarWinds cyber attack. It was a major cyber incident that happened during, I think, in 2020. What happened was basically hackers managed to sneak a malicious code, or we call it as malware, into a software update from a company called SolarWinds. The problem was this software. It was used by a lot of big organizations across the world, including government agencies and tech companies. So when they installed the update, they unknowingly let the hackers in because hackers had managed to sneak the malicious code into the software. You just use the software. When you install the software, when you install the update, unknowingly you let the hackers into your system. So it affected the organizations around the world and showed how interconnected all of us are. And also it showed how important it is to share the threat intelligence, best practices and standards globally. Of course, some people are reluctant to share the threat intelligence, thinking that it might harm their brand or harm their recognition. But it's important to share this intelligence so that other organizations can secure themselves before something happens. And of course, international research communities and professional organizations, nonprofit organizations like IEEE play a big role in this collaboration. They have global network where they are able to bring together different researchers, professionals, students, so that they can collaborate on standards and publish research, publish intelligence, threat intelligence, and also host events which promotes ethical and responsible innovation, which also take care of cybersecurity aspects. So since I'm from the IEEE background, I can think of different IEEE conferences like IEEE Humanitarian Technology Conference, which not only focus about technology, but also focus on social and environmental challenges, how we can use technology for that. And also we have IEEE Leadership Summits, which bring together different professionals in tech forums across the globe to share the knowledge and maybe to mentor students and collaborate on emerging technologies issues. And also we have IEEE Standard Association. They work on developing global standards for emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and cybersecurity especially. And they make sure that usage of these emerging technologies are safe, ethical, and inclusive. So it's not just about the tech, it's also about inclusion, accessibility, and equity in the digital space. So different regions face different challenges and they might need different solutions. But if we share the intelligence, if we share the knowledge, and also this diversity space will help us to build more balanced and fair digital systems. So through my collaborations with IEEE and other organizations, I'm also a part of Women in Cybersecurity community. I have seen how the diverse perspectives from different regions, countries, students, researchers, professionals can lead to better and more responsible solutions. These solutions come from diverse set of experience, knowledge, and different ways of thinking. As one of the speakers mentioned, out of box thinking. So people bring all these things into the picture when they are from different regions. So as for students and as for researchers, for all of you, getting involved in these communities is a great way to learn, lead, and also make a real impact in shaping the future of technology. If we are isolated in this digital space, we will be isolated forever. So if we want to have a safe, cyber-secured digital space, we need to collaborate, we need to be responsible, we need to share our knowledge, threat intelligence, best practices, and have a shared set of standards globally so that we can make sure the cyberspace is safe for everyone out there.
Oh wow! Thank you so much, Dr. Windy. That was a lovely summary. And as you said, yeah, we live in such an interconnected world, and the diversity part that's so important, and you emphasized on it beautifully. Be equity, diversity, inclusion. Of course, we know nowadays these words have become sort of taboo in our neighboring country, but I guess here we still are pretty good with diversity. So we need to encourage more of diversity and inclusion. And that brings us to Clara for the question that when we talk about inclusion and diversity, and we need to think about those communities who are not that privileged. So far we have talked a lot about technology, but maybe there are people around us who might be victimized, who are affected by technology, but they might not have the means to learn or grow using the tech we are talking about. And it's not only about tech, there is art, there are other ways. The community activities play a big role. So here actually we need to hear from you how we can use the other tools to reach out to those people.
Thank you, Azfar. Yeah, so I mean, digital literacy can be so empowering, and I think, part of the community work that we need to do is foster circles where it's a safe space for people to talk about this, a little bit like what you were saying with your education groups. I couldn't have said it better myself, is that when you come from a place that's not what you would call an at-risk way of engaging with the material and see it as empowering with the survivor or the victims, then they can feel better equipped to take their power back because they already possess those tools. They just might not know the lingo, right? And that's where we come in as a community to help with that, whether that be by survivors or policymakers or just the run-of-the-mill person. One of our founding members, June Mitchell, said that burdens shared are burdens lifted, and I think that's very much it. Now, I work from, as you mentioned, an ecofeminist lens, and I use my art as a platform for this. So an ecofeminist lens is that I see us as all interconnected, and that when we foster respect for every minute organism, then we can create transformative change. And I think that this extends to, although it's not technology-based, to how we engage with technology communities and how we engage with preventative care. So when we see ourselves as completely interconnected, like the World Wide Web, then we see that we have an obligation and duty to just engage and help each other out in whatever way that might be. A little example is that, sometimes I take pictures of the works I've created or the works I've co-created with survivors or with other vulnerable populations, their children or some kids, but, asking the consent of, and this is a radical act, can I share your work? Can I even take a photo of your work? And they say no, it's no. And that's empowering. And, just asking the person, because sometimes in this digital age, we're just constantly sharing photos, but we might be actually putting the person at risk without realizing it. Now, I'm very vocal about, my lived experience, but not everybody is. And you don't know, you might be putting their safety at risk by putting that stuff out online. And another aspect of transformative care that's less on the technology side is, as I said, as I believe in the arts, I'm studying to become an art therapist. I engage in a lot of co-creation. So what is co-creation? It means working with the people that are the affected community and having them explore sometimes a certain boundary setting, and you're creating with them rather than for them or in a top-down approach. So something that I recently did was I was writing a science article, and I asked the community, what are some keywords that come up for you? What are some topics that are important? What kind of symbolism or coloration comes up for you when you want to talk about this issue? And so, although it's an indirect way to get them to think about critical thinking, about their safety standards and what them as survivors want to manifest in their life in terms of taking back their control and taking back their power, it gets the client to start thinking about, these thought processes are within my control, and I'm engaging in the creative process. I'm part of re-scripting those narratives. So, even if we're not engaged with technology, just by engaging with the creative process, whether that be through technology or through art making, can have a very radical act of care in terms of honing those critical thinking skills, and then having very solid boundary setting with people, whether that be technology-based, financial-based, psychologically based, etc.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Clara. That's a lovely example, like how we can give back some power to people. Like, we often used to say nowadays we have so many things apparently free, like the social media. So we are always delighted that, wow, I'm getting these services free of cost. Maybe not, like as they say, when something is free, then you are the product. So when I'm using social media, I'm the product of that particular company. So when we have people being like commoditized or being used as product, it's always good to give back them that power, at least asking for consent. So thank you. That's a nice example. Okay, so we are having a great discussion. I wish we could carry on for long, but we will leave some time for the audience for the Q&A. So we have one last question for all the panelists, and it's a common one. So today we are talking about cyber safety, digital ethics, AI ethics, and so on. And as you see, we have a very accomplished pool of panelists. They are coming from different backgrounds: cybersecurity, language education, then psychology, communication studies, or maybe core engineering, but they have all doing wonderful things in their career. And that's why we put this title, From Passion to Profession, how you can convert your passion into a career or do something good for the community. So that's how we wanna end with the defined Q&A. So we're starting with Clara. So any message for our young audience, like how they can pursue their path regardless of their background, whatever they're studying, their gender, their background, or whatever it is, so how they can be a promoter of these principles or maybe take it as their profession?
Thank you for the lovely question. I love it when we end on a side of hope or on the, how we are agents of change. In another interesting article by Dietschel and Associates on technology-facilitated sexual violence in Canadian educational curricula, policies, and legislation, something that they were talking about is differentiating between different levels or forms of cyberbullying and references, because not all of them are the same gravity of issue, and to be engaging in it at a younger age. They work a lot with youth in some of the contexts and some of the research that they did. So, starting at a young age and letting them know the seriousness of an issue, because sometimes at a young age, they might not know that they're engaging in very serious topics and infringing upon the safety of someone and the agency of someone. So doing that. Changing policies so that they are more rigorous and are including, we were talking about EDI and marginalized communities, so that they include vulnerable communities. In an article by CBC done in April 2024, I talked about using e-transfers to use technology-based intervention. There was an interesting case in Australia where banks saw a lot of these cases coming up of e-transfers being used as forms of violence. And so they decided to actually take action because they saw themselves as partners in preventing this. And so what they integrated was an AI used by the bank institutions tools to, kind of like the language models, parse through those languages of violence that might be used by perpetrators through e-transfers, and to flag it right away, and then after that, send warning messages to those perpetrators as well. So they were being part of the solution in that capacity. Now, as individuals, be there for the people around you. If they start disclosing something to you, you can always call, and Women Aware as well. Like I said, we're an organization run by survivors for survivors, but we also have a lot of supporters or allies of supporters that call our hotline and email us asking, how can I better support and be preventative in this person's life? You can call us at 514-489-11, the number's right over here, 1110, or you can email us at info@womenaware.ca. But yeah, it's, I think that we're part of a cycle of change, and when we take action on that and increase our digital literacy, see how we are interconnected, and reach out to partners to see how we could better help each other out and see that we're not isolated, then we have the capacity to build more inclusive and all-encompassing levels of healing.
Thank you, Clara, and really appreciate that you're offering your support right away. So I hope no one will need those kind of support being victimized, but if you need, of course, you can reach out to the organization and to Clara, so thank you. So now the same question for Dr. Windhya, your message for the youth or any thoughts you want to share with them if they want to pursue a career like yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I see a lot of people are interested in cybersecurity these days. It's one of the best fields that you can get involved with. Demand for cybersecurity professionals are not going to decrease at any day that I can see, because as I mentioned, different new emerging technologies are coming up. We call them as disruptive technologies. They bring a lot of opportunities, a lot of advantages, They make our processes effective and efficient, but at the same time, they bring a lot of vulnerabilities, weaknesses. As cybersecurity professionals, we are there to find these weaknesses, find these vulnerabilities so that we can patch them up. We can make sure they are not harming our systems, our people, and the world. So if I talk about, or like if I want to share one key message, especially on this online safety and digital ethics, because all of us use the digital space each and every day, each and every second, but how we can make sure the digital space is used ethically and is safe for everyone. So if I can share one key message, it would be you please use the digital space with intention and with kindness. We have a lot of technologies out there, but the humanitarian aspects, the kindness, supportiveness, being there for someone, those are the things that only humans can do. There are AI-based machines, robots, but I don't think they are capable of having these human emotions, human support as much as we can do. So we are there as humans. So it's our responsibility to help, to support, be kind to the other people out there, not just in the uh, outer space, but also in the digital space. And online platforms are very powerful tools. Of course, they can help you to learn, grow, connect with other people around the world. And also, they will help you to create amazing things and even build your career, empower your career. But with that power comes responsibility. So use them safely. Make sure you have all the cybersecurity strategies, mitigation strategies implemented, and also be mindful of what you share. And always think before you post. It can be any social media, even it can be emails, messages, and all. Don't use this digital space just to spread hate or bully others or share misinformation. Misinformation is a very big problem these days. We have these deep fakes, which are like fake news, fake videos, and so on. Don't spread them. Instead, use the digital space to uplift others, share knowledge, and make a positive impact. Spend some time to cheer others. And even small actions matter. Helping a friend to secure their account, uh, showing them how they can implement different cybersecurity mitigation strategies, like setting up a password, setting up their firewalls, and also reporting harmful content, or simply choosing not to engage in any negative activity. These things add up. We call them digital ethics, but they are not like very big processes or very big decisions. They are simple everyday choices. And digital ethics are also not just for experts or cybersecurity professionals. They start with each and every one of us, every individual, and in every day, in everything that we do in our day-to-day lives. And also, please remember your digital footprint. It can be a Facebook account, it can be a LinkedIn account, it can be any social media account, even emails. Your digital footprint is part of your personal brand. So build it with care. Be mindful of what you share. Share things with purpose and also with empathy, kindness. Of course, the internet or the digital space can be a powerful force for good, and you have the ability to shape that.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Windhya. And again, I mean, today, whenever I hear any of you, and every time I'm learning so much. So thank you, thanks to all of you. And as you rightly said, as it says, with big power comes big responsibility. So thinking before sharing. Now, in every second, I guess we have millions of news being generated, and who knows how much are really real news or how much are fake news. So we need to be careful enough. And also, we love the way you talk about being empathetic, doing little act of kindness, helping our friends or families with little help in the online world. So that really makes a difference. And on the same note to Habibur, you already touched a bit about how the young generation can be ready in this digital world. And of course, you have been an active mentor doing different things with the young people. So you want to share some more tips for them?
Yeah, sure. I would just follow some of the trails from Dr. Windhya. In cybersecurity, or when it comes for digital ethics, it's doing the right thing, even no one is watching, is the most powerful defense you can build, right? And why it's matter, because the online safety and digital ethics, it's aren't just a technical challenge, right? It's they are like a human ones, right? And the decision you make, there is a ripple effect outward, right? And whatever you do, it might affect privacy or safety of others, right? And some of the practical advice I can give is that be intentional with your skills. Like, for example, you have skills to train an AI model, right? So remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? So if you know something, it doesn't mean that you can do it, so it doesn't mean that you have to do it. Make sure, does it affect someone's safety or security or privacy, right? So be intentional with your skills. I would say advocate for ethics. You don't have to do it publicly. Try to do it quietly. If publicly doing advocacy is not possible, do it quietly, right? Speak up if something feels off, and push for privacy, transparency when you are making any decisions when in your real life, right? And another thing is stay grounded for empathy, right? For example, whatever actions you're doing, there's a human person behind each IP, right? So let's say you are working as a network administrator and you are seeing a lot of IPs traffic coming. Just try to understand there's a human behind all these IP or data set when you're working on, right? So build and defend your environment like something you care about, right? When you're doing something, make sure there's someone might get affected by your action. So defend it like someone you care about, and lead by example, right? Practice the ethical behavior in your personal life, in your digital life. Make sure whatever you're posting online, does it affecting someone else's life, someone else's privacy, right? Secure your device. I started my when I started speaking, I mentioned securing your devices using MFA, phishing attack. Educate yourself, educate others, lead by an examples, right? And I would like to finish my final thoughts. Although you have done everything, you know everything, doesn't mean there isn't any gap of your knowledge, right? So there is one of the commencement speech given by Steve Jobs at Stanford, and he finished it. He finished that speech by one line: "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And I would say the same thing to all of our listeners, that when it comes for digital ethics and cybersecurity, although you are knowledgeable, but still try to stay hungry for more and stay foolish so that you can learn new things. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Habibur. And leading by example, as you said, which you all are doing in your own area. And also, yeah, just love the way that Steve Jobs said and you mentioned, like being hungry and being foolish is not that bad. And also one good point you touch is not shame to be victimized. I think most of us, I can talk about myself, have the experience of being victimized online. My Facebook was hacked 2 years back. So I study engineering here and I am a bit active with the community, but still I was also one of the victims. So we should not feel ashamed to share that, yes, I have been breached, I have been scammed. It can happen to anyone. It doesn't depend who you are. So, and we should seek out help. So that's pretty important. Thank you. So, Liana, the same question for you, and is something you're actively doing maybe every day as part of your work. You're making the youth ready. So, any thoughts for them?
Yeah, well, there are so many great points, honestly, already said, so it'll be hard to top that. But I think my biggest piece of advice, something I always try to remind my students, is that you don't need to be a tech expert. You just need to stay curious and ask questions. So you don't need to know everything, but you need to be willing to critique and sort of stay curious in this sort of mindset. So whenever we're thinking about digital ethics, or even just using our phone, we need to be asking questions like, who built this? Why was it designed this way? What are the trade-offs? And what sort of data especially am I providing for this? And those sort of questions give us power because they're helping us to think critically about things so that we can speak up when we need to and sort of influence the sort of change that we want to see and help others do the same. And I think that's the most important thing, is that when we're asking these questions, we're empowering ourselves to dive deeper and to hopefully sort of be the difference that we want to see or make change in that way.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a lovely way to give a sort of conclusion, like being curious, asking questions, and just keep learning. So yeah, that works. Okay, thank you all. So that ends our set questions, but now it's time for the audience. So those who are present here and those who are present online, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So as you see, we have a great pool of panelists. They have sort of a lot of diverse experience, and today they were so generous to share their expertise with us. So it's your chance now to ask and learn from them. So any questions?
Yeah, just to confirm, if you're here in this space, raise your hand. We'll get this microphone to you just so that our online panelists can hear you. And for those of you joining online, if you have a question, feel free to raise your virtual hand or pop it into the chat, and we'll be sure to get those to our panelists. Do we have any questions in the space? I think we have something in the Zoom from a little while ago. Let me see. Would our question asker like to ask the question directly?
Yeah, sure.
Laiba, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, yeah. I can just repeat my question. I was just wondering, I'm starting at Concordia in the fall in child studies, and I often think about like cybersecurity and how technology influences us. And I think that a lot of young people think that technology is kind of what gives them like access to information and knowledge. So sometimes they might have like trouble separating from it because they kind of associate it with their learning. And I was just wondering if there is like a way to help raise awareness about how like what we see online, it's as was mentioned before, it's often like human intervention. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Well, interesting one. Who is going to answer that?
I guess I can start with that. I think it should hopefully be starting in the classrooms with educators. Obviously, as there's a rise of like AI content, it's even more important to develop media literacy. And I think that stems with having students question what they're seeing online. So, you know, if it's really common for them to be getting their news from social media, they need to be asking questions of like, you know, has this information been tampered with? Is it reliable? They need to be learning things about how to check sources and probably diversifying where they're getting their information from. Obviously, there was that law in Canada, so there was a, you know, previously it was more common to get your news online, but then there was sort of a restriction from the government. So it's important to be diversifying where you're getting your information from, but then also obviously making sure that it's a credible source and validating that. And I think that hopefully will begin with the teachers and mentors and, you know, adults in the lives of children to sort of help them question and ask these sort of questions before just believing anything.
Yeah, thanks, Leanna.
That is an excellent question. I think I'm going to go back to the point that we were talking about in terms of bias and having intersectional considerations of knowledge. Now, just because it's online doesn't mean that it's accessible, and doesn't mean that it's inclusive. We know that BIPOC communities have been systemically, for a long time, excluded from many research, from many considerations of point of view, and unfortunately in our neighbors, a little bit down, you know, it's kind of going backwards in terms of how we're going to include more of these diverse populations. Some, you know, information is just not accessible online. You physically need to go to archives to go see what the erasure is like. And, you know, especially when we're talking about Black, Indigenous, other people of color that are in different places. Some of that knowledge has been lost. Some of it is only accessible by oral tradition. So getting involved in the communities and considering getting curious, what is missing? What is the little puzzle, big puzzle rather, that is missing online? So just because we have access to it doesn't mean that it's necessarily the whole picture. And when we were talking about accessibility, I mean, there's a huge paywall on knowledge. Because I'm a recent graduate and I'm taking a little break from my studies before going to graduate studies, I don't have access to a lot of peer-reviewed, scholarly articles right now. And so this limits a little bit sometimes what you can have access to. And if somebody's not very knowledgeable how to parse through and think critically about the knowledge we're getting, then they might fall victim to misinformation and disinformation. They might not know where to get proper information about how to be there for vulnerable communities especially. So, that's kind of what I'd say, is that diversify your knowledge. Don't just rely on online-based and technology-based. There are other ways of knowing. There are other ways of learning, just like engaging in the arts as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Clara. Like, that's a lovely way to put it, diversifying the source of knowledge. So, yeah, indeed. Any of our panelists wants to add something more to that question?
Yeah, so I would like to add something, especially about the biasness, because you might also have experienced this. If you start to watch a video in YouTube or anything available online, the algorithms behind these video suggestions, they try to suggest you videos or like the things in the similar kind of area or similar focus. So if you watch fake news or if you watch a wrong video once, it will keep suggesting you the same thing, a biased opinion things. It can be political opinion, it can be like knowledge opinion, it can be about games, anything. So be aware of it, and as panelists mentioned, make sure you access diverse source of information so that you don't get biased information. And you all must have experienced this. So make sure you don't watch only one side of the story. Make sure to see the other side of story as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Windy. And any other thoughts from anyone before I add something? But yeah, it's a pretty good. Oh yeah, Clara. Sorry. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a little extra something to what Dr. Windy also said, is that there's also information missing, right? In a humanistic way, you're talking about empathy as well. And when we get knowledge from the offline world, we're getting a lot of information that we might be ordinarily missing, such as nonverbals, tone, the complexity of an issue. You don't see that when you're online. And you don't get that humanistic aspect of knowledge. So that's just also something to consider. Thank you so much for all of those points, everyone.
Yeah, another wonderful point, humanistic perspective of knowledge or of any news. Like any news, it does have a human component. So let's focus on that. And thank you to the person who asked the question. It's a great question. And I really love the way there is this urge to find out the real news. So, and Clara mentioned about the paywall challenge. So I also face it because even like when I want to read a newspaper, which are more authentic sources of knowledge, like the established ones, not like every newspaper. So the newspaper which are really reputed, but of course they also have to survive. So maybe I can read 5 articles for free, or maybe 10, but then I have to pay. So something I think some of us do, like here in Montreal, we have the public libraries, and we have 2 libraries at both campuses of Concordia. And here you can get all the newspapers and all the very good magazines. You can come and read here. It's open for all, open for public. So if you have time, you can come maybe once in a week or twice in a week, or as convenient for you, and you can have a look at the real hard copy newspaper, the magazines. Because what I feel, my personal opinion, is very hard to print fake news. Like you can post fake news online, but no one is going to spend their own money to print and publish fake news. So that's a little bit more expensive. So Hard copies might be a better source of knowledge, and not only hard copies. When you want to read a real good newspaper, it always helps you to get the real knowledge. And also there are fact-checking sites. If you see something which seems suspicious, you can go to the fact-checker sites and see. And ultimately, something which Habibur and Dr. Wendy said, like think before sharing. So think before reacting or think before sharing. That might help. Thanks again for the good question. Do we have other questions? Or anything from the in-person audience? No? All right. Okay, so a big thanks to all our panelists. Honestly, I learned a lot today, and I said at the start I was feeling a little bit nervous to like, how am I really suitable person for this panel? And I think you proved that right. That yeah, I have a lot of learned from all of you, and same goes for the audience. I wish we could talk for more, but thank you so much for bringing these diverse perspectives from your respective area. You all are doing a wonderful work to keep ourselves safe in the digital space. And you're working with different communities with different perspectives, and each of these are so important. And on some other note, the whole recording will be available online in the Fourth Space site. So if anyone could not join here as in person or online, you can check the recordings. And for those who are present in person, after we are done here, we have some snacks available, and we can spend that time for networking. And so firstly, thanks Dr. Windhya and thanks Habibur for joining us remotely. So hope to see you sometime in person, and you are welcome here in Montreal at our campus whenever you visit Montreal. And for Lian and Clara, we'll see you more hopefully. And after today, I think we can have some more plans, doing some more things. And big thanks for the Fourth Space team, Jacqueline, Douglas, and others, for Bardi and everyone. So with that note, we are concluding here and handing over back to the Fourth Space team. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to those of you who joined us online, and those of you in person. Great thank you to our panelists for this wonderful conversation. We're going to go ahead, close up the Zoom and the live stream, but just as a reminder, as Azfar already noted, this conversation is already available on our YouTube channel if you wish to revisit or share it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a good one.